So I'm glad that we're actually getting this conversation done because I know we've been talking back and forth for a long time. We're finally going to get this on film to get some good value in front of some people. They want to dive in a little deeper to figure out why so many brands, tactical brands specifically, they struggle online. There's a lot of reasons, but more importantly, I want to get to the point where like we talk about how to fix it, not just talk about the struggles that we all have. Like we all know, more than having a badass product, that's not the only way to win. Got some pretty bad news for you if that's what you think. It's not the case. If you don't really have the trust and communicate your value in seconds, you're losing sales by the scroll at this point. I brought in the man, the myth, the legend, Jon Morales. He's going to jump in real quick, but I wanted to ask like the biggest question first that's on my mind and a lot of these other tactical brand owners. Like, why do they struggle? What's the biggest reason that all these tactical brands struggle?
All right. Thanks for the introduction, Brian. I appreciate it. I don't know if I'm really a legend or not, but I'll go with it. To answer your question, generally, most tactical companies think having a badass product is enough. And it really isn't. Okay. Your product is just a starting line. Okay. But if your brand really doesn't communicate value and trust in seconds, you lose. Like the way that things are going with platforms nowadays, TikTok especially, the attention spans are getting pretty short, pretty fast. Before it used to be about 7 seconds, and now it's just about 3 seconds. So we got literally like 3 seconds to capture the audience really quick, to quickly communicate what it is that you do. How can your target consumers benefit off your product or service? I got a question for you, Brian. So what are the biggest marketing mistakes tactical brands make right now?
They're all copying one another and they're dissolving into the space, but they're all targeting different audiences and they're not always the right audiences. Geez, there could be a lot of stuff here. Let's just talk about the branding because you're here. The branding looks generic. Everyone has a black website. They all have a skull or bullets or something up there and they think that is them. They're being same, but they're just clones. And you really need to find a way to stand out in the audience, in the scrolls and the feeds and all that stuff. And they're taking it one step too far, I feel, as a consumer. They're focusing so heavily on the specs of the product or service. They're getting way into the weeds before people even understand what's going on. So they're not really solving the customer's problems. That's the biggest thing. Like cool gear doesn't sell itself. You got to have the brand that people are going to trust first before they even consider buying.
I like what you said there about over focusing on product specs instead of solving customer problems. I want to touch on that a little bit and talk about exactly what should you say about your product instead of focusing on the specifications, talking about the benefits and advantages of that product. I think it's going to resonate more with your audience rather than just putting specifications out there.
Oh, for sure. You need to understand why people end up on your website. What drove them there? Is it a Google search with some intent? Did you do some interruption marketing on Facebook, or did someone send it to say, "Hey, John, I think you should go to this website and buy this magazine," whatever it was. Like you gotta understand why people are there. They're there for some sort of reason. There's a problem or another reason behind that, and that's where you got to speak to. Who cares about how many rounds your magazine can hold? Who cares about all these little tactical, specific things? And you got to attack the problem. All that being said, when people do get to your website, that's half the problem. Let's talk about once they're there. What you're the web guy. What are some of the common issues that hurt conversions once they actually make it there?
Yeah, I see it pretty often when I go through the tactical space and I see a lot of websites. A lot of them have a lot of issues. Okay. One of the main ones that I see are slow load times, poor mobile design, unclear calls to action, and lack of trust signals often drive potential customers away. Okay. So the poor mobile design, I see it very frequently. A lot of websites are designed and developed on a computer, but the less emphasis is put on the mobile design. So making it compatible across all devices is extremely important. PCs, mobile devices, and tablets. So having that design and functionality is going to contribute towards the user experience. And if the user experience is poor, they're going to bounce quickly off your site. How often do we actually navigate a website? We're trying to purchase something. And how often do we actually buy something off our phones rather than our computers? I do it all the time. Probably 98% of my purchases are done on my mobile phone. Now, if there is a poorly optimized and poorly designed and poor functionality on the phone, then I'm just going to get frustrated and click out and go somewhere else.
Gone. No, it makes sense. That's just the world we're living in now. So that has to have that mobile first everything. And it has to be crazy fast. Like you said, attention span's going away. How long are you going to wait for a page to load? Not very long.
Not very long. Exactly. So having that speed optimization is extremely important. Also, in regards to the lack of trust signals are extremely important. So let's touch on a little bit of what trust signals really means. Trust signals such as social proof, like including testimonials, customer testimonials, speak volumes. So if you go to a website and you don't see any kind of interaction from your other consumers, you lose that trust from people. So how often do you navigate to a website and you see all these products, but you don't see any kind of reviews, any feedback from people? And if they're positive, you're more inclined to buy. Uh, exactly. So that's extremely important. So also highlighting what makes you an authority in the space, what makes you credible, what makes you a credible source. Is it your experience? Is it credentials that you have? How is it that you emotionally connect with your audience to build that trust? And that's extremely important.
Absolutely. I don't know what, if I'm shopping an e-commerce site, I go right for the reviews, look for that. If I'm going to a service-based business, Google reviews. That's it. That's where everyone starts if that doesn't come in from a trusted source somewhere else. But that's at the point where we're at someone's website. We're already there. Let's back it up just a quick second here and let's just go through and figure out how we can actually stand out a little bit here. And everyone has a business, it seems. Maybe it's just us because we're in business. We talk to business people all the time, but it just seems it's getting harder and harder to stand out because more and more people are entering the market. So how do you get to that point where you can stand out in that crowded market?
So how do you stand out in the crowded market is, let's talk about a little bit about your positioning. How do you position yourself as a brand? Are you bargain, commercial, luxury, premium? And does your brand visual identity align with your positioning? If you're coming off as a premium brand, you provide premium, high quality products or services, your visual identity absolutely needs to align with that. And that is how you stand out. A lot of times I see people providing or claiming that they have a premium quality service or product, but their visual identity really is not aligned with it. So you're not standing out, you're getting lost in the crowd and you're becoming invisible. Some things that make you stand out are your strong branding. Branding in the sense of not just having a strong brand strategy and strong foundations, but also visual identity, things that look professional, that make you look like that premium brand. Unique value propositions as well. Unique value propositions or unique selling propositions is extremely important. What sets you apart from everyone else? What makes you specifically unique? And there's several ways that you can tweak that. There's several ways that you can make yourself unique. Is it your customer service that's making you unique? Do you have superior customer service? Is it specific benefits and advantages of your products or services that are better than your competitors? And some ways to figure out how you can be unique is take a look at your competitors, see what people and what companies are offering similar services and products, and look at their feedback. Look at what their customers are saying. Look at what can be improved upon. And those are some minor tweaks that you can make on your product or service. Okay. Also, having a clear customer focused message are key to differentiation as well. Okay. If you're not putting your customer at the forefront of your brand and everything that you do, it does not matter, because at the end of the day, your brand is all about what your customers say about you and your company when you're not in the room. So having that focused message that resonates with your target audience is extremely important. And that's what's going to make you different. Okay. The goal isn't to be the coolest brand. It's to be the brand your customer remembers and trusts when they're ready to buy. Okay. So here's some action steps on how to make your tactical brand stand out in the crowded market. The first one is identify what makes you different. Okay. Is it faster shipping, such as customer service? Is it that you're veteran owned, law enforcement owned, first responder owned? Do you resonate with your audience in that aspect, saying, hey, I've walked in your shoes? Okay. This is made for us by us. Premium quality, your brand positioning, determine that. How exactly do you want to come off in your positioning? And warranty, are you offering a warranty? Are you offering a guarantee that makes you stand out? Is it 100% money back guarantee? What is it? Second action step is build a brand story that connects emotionally. People buy from brands that align with their values, their core values. Consistency is king. Your website, your packaging, your social, and ads should feel like one cohesive unit, like you run a tight operation, right? So if your brand looks like every other tactical company, you're invisible, and different wins.
Every single time. All right, those action steps are key. So if you missed that, listener, rewind, go back, because that there. We can stop there, but we're going to keep going.
We can go on and for a whole hour talking about that alone.
But let's take that and let's dive deeper. Let's get a little bit more. I hate to say this all the time. Let's get more tactical about this. What does it, like from a website standpoint, how does a tactical business make it not just a cool website, but one that actually functions and works? Like, how do you differentiate, or how do you set something up that's just, you can separate that cool factor from one that actually puts money in the bank?
Here we're talking about conversion rate optimization, or CRO. A high converting website prioritizes user experience, fast load times, clear messaging, and easy navigation over just aesthetics. Okay. A cool website is like a tricked out rifle that jams. It looks great, but it doesn't fire. A high converting website is built for performance. It's clean, it's fast, and on target. Okay. Some winning website principles are clear navigation. Customers shouldn't hunt for what they need. If they're spending all this time trying to find exactly what they need, what they came there for, you've lost them. Speed wins. 3+ seconds, slow time, you're losing money. Okay. Make sure you have one goal per page, especially your homepage. Is the goal to buy? Is it to subscribe? Or is it to learn something? Make it obvious and have clear call to actions. So whatever their intention is to be on that specific page, have that call to action and be clear about it. Remember, looks get attention. Speed and clarity close the sale.
Makes sense. But I will say some of those tricked out rifles look good. They look great with the fancy Sarah coating and all that, but
yep.
But
missing a firing pin, then you're screwed. So
let's make sure that's in there. All right. So how can we, like, you keep talking about user experience, like UX, user experience. How can that be specifically optimized for the tactical side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So we touched on it a little bit earlier when it comes to mobile optimization. So having a mobile first mentality or design, having that on the forefront is extremely important, because 70% of tactical buyers are browsing on their phone. So if your site's clunky on mobile, you're done. You're going to have a super high bounce rate. Okay. That's going to hurt your conversion rate. Your quick loading speeds is extremely important as well. So if your images, video, any other content is not optimized for speed, then people are going to bounce. They're not going to sit around and wait for things to load. And a strategically placed call to actions improve both usability and conversion rates as well. Okay. So think of your website like a mission operation. All right. It needs to be smooth, fast, and precise. Okay. And confusion is the enemy. And also, communications dominates warfare as well. So if communications fail and your communication to your target audience is failing, then so will your operation, so will your business, and so will your conversion rate. It's going to kill it. Those are some UX priorities. Also think in terms of like how somebody reads something. People read, whether they like it or not, subconsciously, it's going to be in a zigzag. It's going to be from left to right, and then back down, and then left to right again. Okay. strategically placing your content in that manner is going to have people consume that content a lot quicker. And having those clear call to actions placed strategically along those lines is extremely important as well. Some other priorities is fast load times. So if you want to see what your load time is exactly, use tools like Google Page Speed Insights, and every second costs you sales on that. So use those insights to see where you can decrease those load times. Okay. Simple paths to purchase as well. So fewer clicks from homepage to checkout, and add quick buy buttons. So make it extremely easy for your customer to check out. Make it extremely easy for them to buy something. Okay. Amazon does this very well. If you ever need some kind of roadmap as to how to structure your e-com page, or even a service based, look at Amazon, see how their page is structured. Look at what their buttons are doing. Look at all the different checkboxes you can hit to get a discount. It's extremely easy. They have perfected this whole user experience. That's what makes them feel powerful. Clear calls to action. So make it clear. So if you got a button, don't just say learn more. Okay. Make it clear what that button is for. Is it shop now? Get yours today. Claim your gear. Be direct on what you want them to do. Okay. So if your website makes me think, you've already lost me.
Yep. They got to keep it real simple. And you alluded to a couple things here, and this might be a loaded question, but if you were to look at a website and put elements together that are must have, don't have these, you're going to fail. I'm sure that this could be 30, 40 things, but if it's, I want to start a website today, what are like 3 to 5 things that I have to have in place? What would those be?
That's a great question, Brian. Having a secure checkout is extremely important, especially in the tactical space. We're all about security and our information. Providing information is, we like to protect it. So having that secure checkout and those obvious secure elements in there. Hey, this is a secure website. And if you need to learn more, click here, and it'll show actual audit of the website. Having those trust signals in there is extremely important. Product reviews is extremely important as well. How many of you have actually gone to a website where you see you're there shopping and notifications pop up on the bottom that, hey, Brian purchased this, Jonathan just purchased this item. And that is live notifications that the user can see, that builds that trust, that builds that social proof that people are actually buying this item. Hey, I want to be part of all these people that are buying this now. Like, this is a hot item. Like, I want it too. Right. Trust badges is extremely important as well. Okay. High quality images and clear product descriptions. So your website is your virtual storefront. So every element either builds trust or it loses it. Okay. So some other essential elements, you want to make sure, like I've already said, you want to have those high quality product images. Okay. Crisp photos from multiple angles, and show the gear in action as well. Have a video aspect of that gear in action. And if you're a service-based business, have some customers that you've served and that are happy with your service give you a nice, really good video testimonial. And you can, gear that video testimonial to speak on some emotional triggers, right? With potential target consumers as well. So give your consumer that you serve some good topics to discuss and some good questions to answer. And that'll help guide those people create those video testimonials. All right. As far as some other trust signals. So like I mentioned, secure checkout icons, reviews, a veteran owned badge. And if you're a service disabled veteran, have that service disabled veteran business badge on your website. Do you have a money back guarantee? Put that out there. Put that on your front page. Or do you have some other form of risk reversal? How are you going to reverse that risk? Because there's risk involved with every purchase. So how are you going to touch on that? So here's an example. So we'll work with you until you're 100% satisfied with our product and service that we provided you. Okay. Product reviews, user-generated content builds credibility faster than any ad. So the video user-generated content is extremely important. You see this all the time in the tactical space where they are hiring influencers, people with already a good audience, and they say, hey, we're going to send you this product. You can keep it. It's yours. It's free. But can you create this user generated content? Now, it depends on how many followers and how big of the audience the influencer actually has, and if it's a legitimate audience, because there's a lot of influencers out there that don't have legitimate audiences. They've paid for bots. So filtering, looking at their following is extremely important too. You want to select the influencers that actually have true, legit following. And you can tell by the engagement. Look at their comments. What kind of comments is their following putting down? Do they seem like real people? Click around and see, hey, are these real people or not? Now, leverage those influencers to create that user generated content. Some people are going to take that free product or service. Now, some influencers have such a large following where, hey, yeah, I'll take your free product, but I'm also going to charge you this X amount of money as well. Just be ready for that type of conversation. But that user generated content is super powerful, and it results in probably 24x of return on ad spend when it comes to that. Live chatter support is extremely important as well. Let customers get answers fast. Okay. And speed builds trust. We have the power of AI now where we can leverage AI, but I always recommend, before going the AI route, do it yourself first and see what kind of questions people are answering or asking first, and develop answers based off of those questions, and then train the AI on how to respond. Fast and easy checkout is extremely important as well. So no distractions. All right. Get them across the finish line. Reduce friction as much as possible. The more friction you have, the more people are going to bounce.
Absolutely.
So I got a question for you, Brian. You've already pepperballed me with enough questions.
That's all.
It's my turn. All right. How do you run profitable ads in the tactical space? I know it's extremely difficult for companies nowadays. With the past, I want to say 4 to 6 years, it's really gone downhill when it comes to using specific terminology, and we're getting banned and shadow banned and everything else. So how do you really run profitable ads in the space?
Yeah, man. No, it's the struggle is real. And I've been running Facebook ads at this point for 12 years, and I've stopped holding out for things to improve. It's only getting harder. Even I think at the time of this recording, it was like a month ago, Zuckerberg made a note that he was going to start doing things differently. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's been 12 years, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. It all comes back to knowing the policies, knowing the guidelines, adjusting your brand. Hey, just using still Facebook as an example. I need to be on Facebook. You can't go out there and say that my company's name is Guns and Ammo Unlimited, pew pew, with all these anti-Facebook friendly elements.
Right.
You need to adjust to where you're going. That doesn't mean you throw your branding, you throw your values aside. That means you need to step aside and create a strategy specifically for that platform. So that's what I've been telling everyone is that you are that Guns and Ammo pew. I have to have this. You need to step aside and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make a Facebook friendly version of our company just to inform people about what we do. And then they'll come over and learn everything that we actually want to get from it. It's way different than the old clickbait stuff that used to happen all the time. You want to be very direct with your audience. You can use the policies to your advantage. And you basically, in the tactical space, as if you've been shadow banned or banned or had ads disabled, one word can kill you, kill your ad account, can shut down your social media. You have to play by the rules, but outsmart the system. So that's the basic piece right there.
Absolutely. I like that. What's the best way to really target the right audience, Brian?
Start marketing 5 years ago. The reason why I say that is I'm just going to stick with the Facebook example for now. There's the piece of code you put on the back of your website called a pixel. They've changed it. They call it a data set now, whatever it is. It tracks attributes and things like that are on Facebook. The more you feed that data set, the better your targeting can get. So if you are listening to this today and you leave this video and you go put the data set on your website, you start from scratch, it's going to be real difficult. But there's no better time than today if you haven't done it. Don't wait. Give it the traffic, let it start learning, because as we speak, Meta, Facebook and Instagram, they are actively removing targetable interests from the back end of the Meta Business Manager. A couple of years ago, it was millions of different interests, really creepy big brother targetable stuff you can get in front of. And they have been pushing to put more reliance on their algorithm and their AI components. I do see us getting to the point, as far as Facebook goes, where we give them a credit card, we give them a creative, and that's it. We're going to get to that point at some point. There's still some interest. So that's why I said start marketing 5 years ago or today. Get that data set on there and let us start learning a little bit. And that's going to be how you do things. You don't want to just start running your ads with nothing on there because it won't track. The whole spray and pray thing, it just wastes money. You want to have precision targeting. You want to know who you're going after and know your buyer better than your mom.
And can you touch on lookalike audience a little bit? What does that mean?
Yeah. If I'm talking to you, John, a company say, hey man, you have a great company. Let's start working together. We decide to make it happen. You have an email list. That's the best thing to do. I have 50,000 people bought my service or product. Hand that over to me. We'll upload that in a CSV file into the Meta Business Manager. And that will take some of the attributes. Let's just say out of 50,000 customers you sent over, 90% of them are on Facebook. With that same email, phone number, name, whatever it is, they will say, we found a whole bunch of other John Smiths that were just like this guy over here. And that's the audience to build out. So you can take that 50,000 size list and make that into a 2 or 3 million person segment in Facebook. Do that now. And that's why I always hammer having a great email list, because you can leverage it. You do the same thing on Google Ads. You do the same thing on TikTok. Getting that information feeds their algorithm and tells these are our people, go find more of them. That's pretty much it.
Are there any advantages or disadvantages to boosting a post?
Yeah, don't do it, in short. But the Facebook has done a great job at graying the lines between an organic social media post and a legitimate paid ad. With that boosting a post in the middle, it allows you to do a little bit of targeting. It really holds a lot of those abilities back. You can't do too much A/B testing, if any. You can't change creatives. The analytics aren't great. But if you do have money that you want to boost a post with, hold it, save it, put it into the business manager.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. So now you're targeting the audience, you're advertising to them, and now where do they go to? You're providing some kind of call to action. So how do you, where do they go to? Where do they land? And if it's a website or a landing page, how do you turn those visitors into paying customers?
But yeah, once they get off the platform, and I'll touch on that real quick. Facebook's goal is to keep you on the platform. That's why you see Facebook, Instagram shops popping up. It keeps them actively engaged there. But for the most part, you want to pull them off the platform to your website. Once you get there, you want to make sure, like you mentioned earlier, amazing website, fast loading, great brand, easy checkout. If we could have 100% conversion rate from that, this conversation would be over. But there's a lot of things that happen from leaving Facebook or Instagram, landing on a website, and all the conversion pieces that happen back there. If they do go through with signing up for a service or buying something, making a purchase on an e-commerce store, great. But then you have to have all the case categories. You have to have your retargeting ads. If they've added to the cart and left, and then they come back to Facebook that night, retargeting ads. Same thing on the email sequence side, retargeting them with abandoned cart sequences. If they've signed up on your site for your pop-up 10% off, that welcome series has to remind them more than once. Usually it's that second email that kind of also brings in some good revenue, and to go from there to get those people to convert that fell off. We all get distracted. I'm in the middle of doing something, buying something, and my kid comes running, my dog jumps in my lap. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I just didn't want it. But either way, the business owner's responsibility to remind their customers, hey, you were about to do this. Do you still want to do that? And go from there. Close that deal.
Absolutely. And not just email, but also SMS marketing is extremely important, because that message is going to go directly to their phone. And it's important to keep it short and sweet. Hey, we noticed that you left this item in your cart. Do you still want to buy it? Regards to landing on the page, are there any red flags that Facebook does not like about pages, and that will get your ads basically shut down?
Yeah, if we're sticking with talking on the tactical side, the verbiage that you use in your Facebook ads has to correlate to the landing page. Now you can put in place a strategy that I always tell people about called a buffer page strategy, which if your website is gunsandammo.com, you can't advertise that. You might have to find a Facebook friendly URL, smilesandbrass.com, whatever it is. That's fine. Get people to land there. Don't talk about the things that we can't talk about. Get some information, hit them up with the emails, keep the branding the same all throughout. So there's no clickbait sort of things that the bounce rates are super low. But when they do land on a landing page, it's got to be compliant. You basically have to look at your landing page as if you are auditing from Facebook. If that's where the traffic's coming, they're going to look at that first landing page. They might not look at the second or third. Then you can do what you need to do. But that first landing page, you need to say, here's the Facebook policies. Do I abide by them? If so, you're cool. If not, you got a problem.
And do you recommend having any policies on the footer of your page, whether it's a landing page or website?
Yeah, we have to have those terms and conditions. We have to have privacy policy links to let people know that if you are on this site, we do have some tracking. We only use it for these things, and let people find it. And Facebook does look for that as well.
Exactly. So how can tactical brands maximize sales through email marketing, since you mentioned email marketing?
Yeah, I've been a huge proponent of building email lists. I don't know how many years ago it was, 4 or 5 years ago, when iOS 14.5 came out and you had to upload to re-download all of your apps and have that ask to track thing that pops up on Apple devices. I tell everyone, yes, or else you're going to get ads for stuff you don't care about. But that's when I signaled in my head, because on the marketing world, we knew that was coming about 2 years prior. So 2 years before that, we started changing all of our kind of general strategies to lead generation, even for the e-commerce side, to build email lists, because that's what is going to be your biggest lever. I think it was probably 2.5 years ago that Instagram or Facebook was down for most of the day. Everyone freaked out except us. We said the ads are off. Let's send a couple emails, send a text, make our clients thousands of dollars while everyone else is running around screaming. So you really want to have that email list as big as possible. And when that happens, it gets messy. So you want to segment that down by asking people throughout the course of your relationship with them, things they're interested in. And then you can tag that profile like, hey, Jonathan he prefers 556 to 223. We're going to tag him with that, send him specific stuff because he might not care about this stuff. So making sure that the list is super messy, and also saves you money too. You have 50,000 people on your list, but only 10,000 engage and purchase. The platforms are going to charge you for the whole 50. So don't have anything that's dead weight. Really dial in on those lists and be personal. Get those personalization triggers in place. And that's what's going to help drive those sales like crazy.
And how does customer segmenting increase open rates and conversions?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's a lot of ways to divide this question up. New customers didn't purchase. They need to be spoken to differently. They might not know enough about the brand. They might not be ready, as opposed to your veteran people who have been buying from you for years. They are fine with getting the quick little, hey, we got a new product. We know you like it. Go take a peek. Like those ones don't need the full story. Some people earlier on in that customer journey need specific language, and they'll have to be talked to a little bit differently and coddled a little bit, so to speak, until they get to the point where they make the purchase, love your product, love your service, fall more in love with everything. And then they'll be talked to differently and move down the segment line.
And since you mentioned that, let's say somebody is top of funnel, which means someone is either problem, solution, unaware, and is at the awareness level. So how many different touch points is required for them to actually make a purchase?
Yeah, it depends sort of thing, but we can average it around 7. So I say it depends because I'm just using the world in general. If I'm selling an expensive service, like thousands and thousands of dollars, I need more touch points. You need to take a little bit more time to date them on the outside before you bring them in. But for most folks, it's a seven touch points. And that could be an email, a Facebook post, an Instagram ad, a text message, and repeated versions of that. It'll take some time.
Exactly. What are the best types of email campaigns for tactical brands?
I put those in two buckets. You have your automations. So when people go to the site, they get the pop-up that goes through to a welcome series, abandoned carts, browse abandonment. And one that I like to do, once of those are three big ones. When those are done, I love putting together win backs. So those are ways that if you have a product or service and people have signed up, purchased, done it, what's the time frame between purchase one and purchase two, or class one and class two, and setting that win back sequence to trigger at that set. If I know that someone comes and they buy on day 0, and then they typically come back for another purchase at day 40, I'm starting that win back sequence around day 35 from the original purchase. The automations have to be in place and those kind of churn in the background. But then you have to have your one-off campaigns. And we do that at least one email per week. If you have 2,000 or 200,000 emails, at least one email per week to stay top of mind. That inbox is aggressive. It is competitive. You might think that, hey, I don't want to kind of mess with people. I don't want to bother them, but everyone else is bothering them. And you are going to have to compete with how many times Nike has been in front of them, how many times they have seen your competitor. And if you just slide into their inbox casually once a month, unless they are that VIP diehard, I don't care what happens, I'm going to go with this product, which is probably 1% of your audience, you need to be top of mind. You need to keep your name up there.
It sounds like I got some tweaking to do, Brian.
Hey, you're not alone.
I might know a guy that can help me. So can email marketing outperform social media in sales?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen time and time again, social media from an organic standpoint, even let's just take influencers and throw them out the window. Just posting organically, you're going to have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're all throttling down your traffic because they want to put more ads in there. So if you're running ads, great. But if you're just doing social organic, it's going to be really hard to get in front of. If you have a Facebook page with 10,000 followers and you make a post, look at your analytics, see how many people after 8 hours, 12 hours, how many people actually see that post. If you have 10,000 emails, you have an average 20% click rate that's low, or open rate, I should say. That's probably already more than people are going to see your organic post. So that's why it's important. It's extremely important to have that email list and use it.
What is a good open rate?
Low end's about 20%. We try to strive for about 30%, but that does depend on the size of your audience. If you have 500 people in your list, you'll probably see 50, 60%. But if you have 100,000, you'll be closer to 20, 25%. It's a numbers game. As much as us as a business owner, we want to realize that we want to touch every single person and be very intimate with our customers. Even when you have 100,000 people, it's impossible. So it is a little bit of that spray and pray sort of situation. But as you get larger, that's when the segmentation comes in. You might not send to 100,000 every time. You'll break it up into 5 segments and then get those higher open rates, higher click rates, more money in the bank. While we're talking about sales, let me just throw the ball back in your court and just be honest, how does branding itself actually drive the sales? Seems like I'm doing all the heavy lifting, but I think you might have a little bit to say with that.
Absolutely. What really does branding really mean for tactical companies? A lot of times people think branding is just visual identity, and it's really not, right? It's more than just a logo. It's how a company is perceived from messaging throughout customer experience. Now, that is what makes your brand. Right? Your reputation and perception equals your brand. Okay. Your emotional connection along with those elements equals your brand. Okay. So your branding is your company's reputation before a customer even talks to you. All right. It's the gut feeling they get when they see your logo or your website. Okay. It's not just a logo. It's the voice, the visuals, and experience from first click to final delivery. Okay. So strong branding reduces doubt. People buy faster and more often from brands when they recognize and have an emotional connection with. Okay. So your brand is basically your silent salesman. It's working even when you're not. And what do I mean by that? It means that your brand is owning a piece of real estate in the minds of your consumers.
Oh, I like that.
All right. Yep.
That's awesome. Owning a piece of real estate in your customers' moments. That's great. If the brand wants to own that piece of their brain, obviously if they want to be recognized correctly, or they want to be known as a premium brand, a trusted brand, like how does a tactical brand do that specifically?
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit in the Facebook group, and I mentioned that using the power of lack in your communication really makes you stay in the minds of your consumers. Okay. So thinking in terms of what are you lacking by not having this product or service in place? Right? Is it the gear? Hey, you have subpar gear that you bought on Amazon that was probably made in China, that is cheap gear. Now, when shit hits the fan and you're in a fight, are you really going to rely on that piece of equipment? Right? It's unreliable. Right? So, having a premium quality product, for example, is going to help you and make it more reliable. So, it's going to touch on that emotional response of, hey, you're lacking and you're the weakest link in your team because you keep trying to buy cheap products. So is your partner next to you that's depending on you to help them come back home to their families, and where gear is so important, and you had a gear failure, whether it's your holster or something, you couldn't pull your weapon out. Are you going to lean on that fact? And that's going to be the reasoning why you weren't able to provide the proper backup to your partner, because you decided to go with the cheap option. So touching on those emotional triggers on what they lack is extremely important. And that's what's really going to stick in their minds. They're going to go and show up on duty, and they're going to be thinking about that. And they're going to look at their gear and say, man, you know what? Like, I need to go and buy that better quality product because I don't want to be that guy.
No one does.
No one does. No one wants to be that guy. Touching on that. And hey, I've also seen some companies touch on it a little bit and say, don't be that guy when they're launching an email marketing campaign and that's their opener. It's don't be that guy. It's like that resonates with the whole entire market right there. It's nobody wants to be that guy. And that's how you stick in the minds.
That's right. I'm stealing that, by the way. Thank you. You started to crack the door open there. It sounded like you were telling a story. And I've heard you talk about storytelling a few times in our conversations. Like, how do you work in storytelling when it comes to branding?
Yeah. So a strong brand story builds emotional connections, trust, loyalty, and making it easier to convert customers. You know, I don't know about you, Brian, but I'm a fan of origin stories. I love origin stories. And that's why Marvel is so successful in telling stories, because they really touch on the origin aspect. And honestly, those are my favorite Marvel movies on that origin story. And they do it in a way where they make that emotional connection with the audience, because it shows the vulnerabilities in a lot of these characters. So your brand is a character. It is a character. It is living, right? Your brand is vulnerable. And that's what makes you human. That's what makes people resonate with your brand. So personal brand or your business brand, showing that vulnerability makes it natural, makes it raw. And that's how you build that emotional connection. Okay. So facts tell. All right. Stories sell. People don't buy gear, they buy what that gear means to them. Okay. When you touch on that safety, the confidence, the reliability, and build a story behind it, that's what's going to make people buy. So here's some things that you can do when you're telling your story. Show the mission behind the brand. Is it veteran founded, LEO supported, family business? Use customer stories, real reviews, photos from the field, or testimonials from operators. Did the operators out in the field use your piece of equipment? Was it involved in a shooting? And was it successful? Was it a direct contributor to the success of that mission or operation?
Yeah.
Make the buyer the hero. Position yourself as the guide. When you position yourself as the guide, when you position yourself as the Yoda and you position them as the hero, you're guiding them towards their result. Okay. So your gear is the tool that helps them succeed, for example. Okay. So your story turns buyers into believers, and believers buy again and again, which increases your customer lifetime value over time.
I love it. I love you threw in the Yoda.
I threw in Yoda, I threw in Marvel.
Yeah, you had my attention. Say
Yeah.
less, man.
That brings me to, what's the tactical marketing blueprint? If we were to create a roadmap, a blueprint for scaling profitability with tactical brands, what does that look like? What marketing strategies actually work for tactical brands, Brian?
When people have conversations with me, one of the first things I ask is, what's your intent for the business? Do you want to quickly grow the business, be approached by a private equity firm and sail off into the sunset? Or do you want this business to be a legacy that you hand off to your children? Depending upon more for the tactical brands that we get to work with, it's typically column B. They want to grow their brand, their personal brand, their regular brand. They want to be able to hand this off to their children and their family. It's a more of a long-term, long-tail process. When it comes to the long-tail tactical process, SEO is a great thing to do because it's not a quick win. It's something that if you are starting on day one, that starts on day one. You're looking at getting the traffic where it needs to be to pay for itself and to scale aggressively in a year plus. So there are some difficulties, as we all know in the tactical world. But regardless of if you are selling a service or a physical product, and this might not come as a surprise if you've made it this far into the video, we rely heavily on the client owning data. Email marketing, lead generation. If you think, even a lot of times I'll present this to e-commerce owners and they get a little bit of a shock, like, why don't you on Facebook try and get purchases? We definitely will, and it does work. But at the end of the day, if you want to own a large business, you have to have the assets, and a large email list is a huge asset. Typically, if you go to a website, if it is an e-commerce site, you see that pop up. Definitely have those in place. But why are you waiting for people to get to your site for that? Why can't you do that on Facebook? Get 10% now. Click here. Boom, done. You're starting that process right there. And we have to put a couple things in place. It can't just be ads, can't just be emails, can't be SEO. If you just do one, you can run in with blinders on. You can't rely on that one weapon. You have to have all of it, and it has to work in sync together. So that's the process, to make sure you know which platforms, what the angle is, integrate everything together for that long-term success.
Awesome. So where should tactical businesses focus their marketing efforts?
Initially, if it depends on their stage, if it's early, they do need to have some brand awareness. They can't just slide into the market and expect to come out with tons and tons of cash in your bank account. You need to become established. And then once you are established in the space, whether it's you want to be 5 Mile famous as an instructor or nationwide sales, you need to work heavily on the conversions. So conversions and keeping your customers, that lifetime value you were talking about a second ago, John. So early brands, you need to be seen, and established brands need to convert. That time frame depends on a lot of different things, but you really need to know where you are, or you're going to waste time, waste money, and the self-aware business owners don't do any of that.
And how do you initially, so let's say you were starting out, how do you initially build that brand awareness?
The biggest thing I like to see, if we're just getting nerdy for a second here and talk KPIs, if I'm going to be using KPIs in email, we want a extremely high click rate. Open rates are easy to get. Click rate is people engaged in your email and the story you're presenting in the email. Same thing on Facebook or TikTok, wherever you're doing your paid ads. You want to see that high click rate, or if you're doing a video, there's ways you can track what percentage of the audience is going to watch that video to the end or towards the end. Typically, people watch about 3 to 5 or 4 seconds. The bar is low. So if you can get someone to watch a 15-second video, you are crushing it. So really making sure that you are in, like you said a second ago, in the mind, renting that space in their mind at all times.
And for those that don't know, what does KPIs stand for?
Key performance indicators. And that's just, I probably got stuck in my marketing terminology box for a second there, but yeah, you can go down so many rabbit holes. There's a lot of metrics that you can employ, but when you're scaling and you want to scale profitably, You need to focus on just a couple, or else it's easy to get lost. So as you grow, there's things from the front to the back, from your top of funnel to the bottom of funnel that you want to focus on. Click-through rates across the board, emails and ads, conversion rates on your website, what your average order value is if you are a e-commerce, your lifetime value of this customer. And there's a lot more rabbit holes we can go down, but those are some of the biggest things that we have people focus on. And you can tweak a lot of those by doing other things in the marketing world, but have your eyes set on those, you're clear in your direction, there's really not a lot that can stop you.
Nice. So how can really, since we talked about KPIs, how can a brand track success and scale profitably? Is there anything that they can do, any kind of testing they can do that will help them scale?
Yeah, anytime you're testing, let's just stick with the Facebook ad conversation for a second here. There's a lot of things you can do, but you need to be surgical about what you're doing. You need to understand what your pain threshold is. So if you are a brand new brand and you say, hey, I don't know, like I'm going to sell this t-shirt for $20. What's going to actually help people convert? I need to test 2 different offers, and I'm happy to lose $150 to test. So I'm going to spend $300. After I spend $150, I'm going to know what's going on, and they need to be able to reinvest. You have to be able to say, hey, I'm the business owner. I'm going to initially lose some money on some of this, but I'm going to take the L there. I'm going to take that as a learning, not a loss. And I'm going to move forward with that information. But at the end of the day, you want to take that information and not just let it float away. Guessing is expensive. Tracking, that is lethal right there. You need to know your KPIs, make sure you're testing. And when you know it works, double down on it. That's how you work. That's how you scale without losing all your money.
Nice. Absolutely. Man, we covered a lot, Brian.
Yeah, man. Branding, websites, ads, email marketing, scaling, tactical businesses. Man, bottom line, like tactical brands, they got to treat their business, their marketing like a mission, strategic, precise, and relentless. You can't let off the gas. Those are the ones who are going to win online, hands down.
Exactly, Brian. Your brand is either your biggest weapon or your biggest weakness. So you can't afford to guess anymore. You need to know what's working, what's broken, and what's exactly holding you back from scaling. So that's why we're offering something special, especially if you've watched this video all the way through. We're only offering it to you guys as a thank you to consuming our content. And hopefully you found all of this information valuable. What we're going to do for you guys is we're giving a free brand and marketing audit to the first 15 tactical brands that take action. So what we're going to do is we'll break down your website, your branding, your ads, if you're currently running ads, and your email strategy, all of it. All right. We'll show you what's costing you sales and exactly how to fix it. So in order to grab it, here's what you need to do. Comment audit below right now. Audit, the word audit. That's all you need to do. Just drop audit in the comments and our team will reach out personally to you. All right.
But we're not doing this for everyone. Like we have a lot of stuff that we want to do. We want to do this for only 15 brands. When that's done, I don't think we're going to be coming back to this. This is probably going to burn us out, but in a good way. Once we hit 15 folks, we're done. We're locking it down, move fast, and that's it. Just stop listening to us and start typing audit.
Yep. Your competition is leveling up. The question is, will you?
Let's
All right.
go.
So again, comment audit below and let's get to work.
Yeah, buddy.